Dun 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 dun. Welcome back, everyone. We have another Photoshop tutorial. We're doing an animation, a little GIF with an Indiana Jones type theme. Let's begin. This document is 1200 pixels wide by 628 tall. The resolution is 72, RGB color. Once you have that set up, then first thing I want to do is find a picture of a map. I found this picture on unsplash.com just by searching for map. And you can use really kind of any map you want. I just chose this one because it is a little older style looking of a map that I thought would be kind of fun to play with in there. Control T it to make it whatever size you want, and it's kind of up to you where you want that laid out in there, or if you want it kind of straight, or if you want it curved, or at an angle, any of those things. Once I put that in there, it is a smart object, and I may just rename this and call it map, because we could have quite a few layers by the time we're all said and done with this here. Okay, we're doing the background first. So once we have that done, I also found a picture, which is also on Unsplash, just searching old paper. And if you have any old paper textures, I liked this one because of the tan color on it. And I thought it would work really good with the color scheme for an Indiana Jones themed project. So laying that over the top of it there. And once we have that done, I might change the layer name of that one also, and I'll call this one Map Overlay. Alright, and then just down here in the right hand corner in the Layers panel, we can switch normal to multiply. That's fine. Multiply works pretty good with this one that I'm using. Now, the nice thing about this, you can kind of mouse over these and see how they work. Some of them may work better with the images you chose. So multiply, I'm going to select for that, and then also for the opacity right here in that same layers panel, I'll switch it to 65%. Looks pretty good. One other change I might do here in the map portion, because this is a smart object, I can actually use like Control L to bring up my levels, and when I do this, it'll allow me to re-edit those levels anytime, because it's just going to use it as a smart filter. So here, if I bring this over to like maybe to the left, yeah, let's lighten it up a little bit. Maybe like 1.72 doesn't look bad. Let me try 1.70. 1.70. I like how that looks. It's a good combination with what we're trying to do with this map and this texture. And it's still, the map elements are visible on there for the most part. I think this will work fine. Okay, got that part done. Next thing we want to do is we can make a new layer above that. And if we go to our type tool, and there is a typeface called Uppercut Angle. And I believe this is an Adobe font. If you have Adobe Creative Cloud, you can just add this to your fonts from that Creative Cloud app when you search for your typeface. And you can use any kind of bold, wide typeface that you want with this. I just thought this one was pretty darn close to the Indiana Jones theme. And up here for the color of this, I did find a color that I liked. We're going to put a gradient overlay with this anyway, but we'll use the yellow for this, and this would be FDC 301 I thought worked pretty good. All right, and once we have those things there, I'm going to then type just the word adventure. All right, we'll Control T this, make it nice and big. I think that looks pretty darn good as far as that part goes. Now, once we have that done and this is selected, the other thing we can do with this layer selected up here at the top, there's this little kind of warp tool up here. If I click on this, we have a few different styles that we can use. And so one of them, I believe, is arc. And if we, I don't know, maybe move this to 0, but the horizontal distortion, we move that just a little bit, so maybe like 30, negative 39. Doesn't look too bad. All right, and then the other thing we can do is with Control T, and by holding Control and dragging this far right middle square, kind of angle that up just a little bit. Just to kind of give me an idea, I will slide this up here just so I know I'm moving this kind of straight, you know. And if I move this part here, you know, then I know that's kind of even up at the top. And I think that looks not too bad. Not too bad at all. If you wanted to, you could even you know, just give it just a little bit of a bend if you wanted to. So, you know, kind of entirely up to what you're trying to create with this. But I think this looks nice with this right here. Okay, so that's finished. Then we can go into the layer style for this adventure. And if I click on this and open this up, then there's a few things we can do with this. One of them is going to be the gradient overlay. So if I select gradient overlay, and it's going to look a little weird to start off with, but don't worry. And then if I go here to blend mode and choose normal, opacity is going to be 100%. And there's this gradient option right here. If I select this, go to basics, I can actually go here, and there's one that says yellow to white in there. I'm going to actually select that. But then down here at the bottom, where this arrow goes to white, I'm going to click on that and change that color. And I found a oranges color I think that will work good with this, and it is FA5733. And click OK. And yeah, right in between there like that will be fine. So we'll click OK. And then in here for the style, we'll choose linear. And I will select reverse because I want the orange to be up at the top. And then the angle of this, actually 100 doesn't look too bad. You just kind of want to play with it to where, you know, the orange is where, like at the top. And I got a little frantic here clicking on this, and I goofed some of this up. So if you find that your layer here gets messed up a little bit, oh, that's why, because I clicked opacity. All right, make sure the opacity is still at 100. My bad. And then you can move this gradient by just clicking reset alignment, and then it'll recenter it in there. All right, and then 95, when I select that, it looks pretty good, like I have this moving up at the same height. And then, like I said, you can just move your cursor over your picture here and then click up and down, and you can move this gradient. And if you need to change the scale of it, I don't think we want it like down there to where it's that defined of a border. But you can play around with that a little bit. And I think, see, 25 maybe. Might be something to play around with. 25 or 30, something like that. And I might just raise it up just a little bit more. Alright, so gradient overlay takes a little bit of fine tuning and playing with the gradient. Once you have that done, then we can go over to the drop shadow, and we'll select that here. And the blend mode is going to be normal. The opacity is going to also be normal. It's up to you where you want that shadow to be at. You know, if you want it to be at an angle or if you want it to be straight up and down. Kind of your call with that. And for the distance on this, I'm going to actually increase it a little bit. Switch that to 100. And then maybe have this down here be 5 or 4. I think 4 looks a little better actually. One other thing in here will be the stroke. So let's find here where it says stroke. We can click on that, and we want the color of that to be black. For the size of that, I think 5 is fine. We do want the position to be outside. And then as I look at this, I'm going to check drop shadow one more time, and I'm going to look and see how this looks with the 90 degree drop shadow with that stroke there. And I actually do like that better. So I'm going to leave it like that, and then I will click OK. All right, this looks nice. All right, move that to where you want it to be. Use my type tool again and just click anywhere on here, but this time I will change the typeface to Adventure Subtitles. And I believe you can get this one, if not from your Adobe Creative Cloud, you can get it from like DaFont. Either one of those two. But it was a free font to use and can be used for any purpose, so that's why I chose it. And with this, I will type in, using that same yellow color, I'll just say, with all caps here, pack your bags for your next. Alright, and then I can Control T this, resize it. These letters are pretty close here on this one. So looking over here in my properties, right here I have this set to -100, so I will actually change that to 0, which is probably what yours is at on the default. So that looks good. And down here with the adventure, I'm curious. So I had this setting here with the space between the letters. It is set to -100 right there, but I like it like that, so I'm actually gonna leave it that way. So if your spacing of your letters looked a little bit different, or you want them closer together, wider, just by using this setting here, you can choose if you want more space or if you want less space. Alright, so this looks good. I can duplicate that layer in my layers panel here just by right clicking, and by changing the order I will bring this down below the adventure, and then bring this down here, and then I'm just going to put in here something like visit traveltrip.com for more info. I'll just say visit traveltip.com. All right. Obviously, you can make these texts say whatever you want to say. All right, so we'll move these up here a little bit, give myself a little working room underneath. And now we're ready for the animated elements here. Okay, so just making a new layer and finding the shape tools here. We'll use a simple ellipse, and I'll use the same yellow color and draw a circle right about here. And then using my type tool and using my uppercut angle type, I'll type in a letter X. And I will put it somewhere over maybe here. All right. That's our beginning and end point. All right, and now we're ready for the dotted line. So for that, we'll start going here to the shape, and we'll use our line tool to begin with. And I'll just draw a straight line, kind of goes between these two objects like so. All right, now over here in the appearance section of this, we can change the attributes of this line. So the fill I'm actually going to turn off. If you click on that and you select this white square with the red rectangle, it'll make the fill invisible. But the stroke, though, I'm going to use that same color I have been using, that yellow. And if I select in here, these little drop down arrows, one of them is like centered. I want to select the centered option. And for the width of this, it kind of depends just how thick you want that line to be on there. Let me see how 4 looks. 4 is really not too bad. I might want it a little bit bigger. Let's see what 8 looks like. Yeah, I think 8 is actually gonna look a little bit better for us. So maybe go somewhere between 5 and 8 depending how you want yours. Then we have these options here for the strokes. So if you want it to be a solid line or if you want it to be a dotted line. So I'll click here for this, and then we have these dash options. So you can choose like the dash and the gap for this. So like, what does 3 look like? 3 and 3. What if I try, oops, let me try these again. Let's try 3 and 1, 3 and 2. You just kind of want to play around with it till you find the right settings. I like this space in here. I think that'll work pretty good. All right, so that's done. With that line finished, I can then go over to my pen tool area, and if I click and hold, there is a curvature pen tool. All right, I'll select that. And coming over here, if I move my cursor over this line and I do it just right, you'll see a little plus next to that icon. I can click on that. All right, and then if I click and drag, I can move this up a little bit. And don't worry about the second part of the line right now. We can get rid of that later, all right? Then over here, I can click and add another one, and then I'm just going to bring this one down. right, and this I think will work pretty good. I might exaggerate this just a little bit more. Okay, so those are done. Once that's finished, then I am actually going to rasterize that layer, just right clicking over here in rasterizing. And then if I zoom in, I can get rid of these lines just with my polygon lasso tool. Select what you don't want and clean this out as best as you can. So this looks good. You know, if I'm looking here and zooming in, it's going to get a little bit ugly when you zoom in because these are ultimately pixels we're working with here. All right. But when you zoom to your regular size, you're fine. And then when we get down here to this part, it's okay. These are overlapping because I'm going to actually delete both of these. And one more shape I'm going to add in here. It's going to be the ellipse tool. All right, so taking my ellipse, I'm going to draw a circle. Same thing with the line that we made. I'll take out the fill, but I am going to add the stroke here, and for the width of that, I'll choose 8. And then going in here to this. So 4 and 2 is where this one is at right now. Let's try the same thing we did before. Let's try 3. And what happens here if we go 3, 3? Let's try 3, 4. This one may not match up perfectly the way you did your line, but this is pretty close right here. Right, so I got this done, and I can rasterize this circle. Right click and rasterize the layer, and I will this time just take out one of those dashes. All right, go to my move tool here, Control T, and rotate this around. And then if we move this, we can find like how we want to move this to where it will actually fit as seamlessly as possible. If needed, we can take out probably this dash here on the circle. Once you have that path done, then my line and my ellipse, I'm actually going to merge those two layers together. And then I will move this whole path down just a little bit. Kind of center it in here so it looks well spaced out. Okay, so this ellipse layer here, or whatever the merge layer is, I'll rename this and I'll call this dotted path. All right, and when we have that ready, now we're ready for the animation. The way I think this is the easiest to do this is to put this in a group. So this dotted path will be here in a group. And then I will put the rest of these items in their own group. All right, and then this I'll just call map project, and this group up here I'll call animated path. All right, and then here what I can do, I will select around each one of these. So starting here, I'm going to go Control X. All right, and then I'm going to go Control Shift V, which is going to paste it in place. But as you can see, it puts it on its own layer. All right, And so if I toggle this layer here, this layer 1, it's not there anymore. All right, then I will go to the dotted path and select the second dotted line, Control X, Control Shift V to paste that one there. And just to make things easy, as I get those finished, I'm going to make those layers invisible as I go through this. Okay, so now I'm going to speed up just to make the video go a little faster. Those are all finished up. I can zoom out a little bit and I'm ready to get to the timeline here. So going up here to the top for window, select this and then find where it says timeline. We have a few options down here. We want to choose the one that says create frame animation. Okay, once I have that selected, then click the button. This frame looks just like this picture up here. All right, and then if I click this plus, I can duplicate the selected frame. And then what I'll do is I will click layer 1. It's going to make that one visible. And then I'll repeat that. And then make this one visible. And then repeat that and make this one visible. Okay, so I'm going to go through and complete that process real quickly. Now what I want to do, to make this be a loop that is seamless, the animation to be seamless and to continue on forever, I then will duplicate this layer. And then now what I'm going to do is I will go back to the top here and then start making these layers invisible again. And then I'll speed up and show you the next step. I left the last frame on here with 1 on it because the first frame had no lines there, so that way there's not 2 of the same thing in a row. We get to this part here. So what I might do is right before we start going through the curve of this, or maybe I'll do it like right here. So I'll choose 1 through 9. All right, and then these times here, I can actually choose the time frame on this. So what if I go here like, let's try 0.2 seconds. All right, and then I'll push the play button. All right, so that looks pretty good for the first part. So 0.2, all right, and then up here we have this going through the loop, and I think that is kind of fun to have it speed up, so I'll keep that at the 0 seconds. So 19 through 28, I'm going to select all of those, and I will then go back here to the 0.2 seconds, and then we'll switch the time on those to 0.2. So let's look at the animation and see how this looks. Maybe the one thing that I would change would be this one here. I might try this. As a 0. Try it again. Just kind of depends how much you want to do with this, you know. And you don't have to speed it up at different parts. I just think when you do it, adds a little more character with it. So that I do think looks pretty good. I may try here going no delay, and then over here try switching this one to no delay. Let's try that and see how this looks now. Yeah, I think that looks a lot better. All right, once that's finished up, then we can hit stop. And obviously when you save your project here, it's going to keep all these layers as this, and you can go file, save as, and save it as a PSD, as a Photoshop file. So if you need to make any changes to it, you sure can. But when you're ready to export it as something that is animated, we go to File and Export, Save for Web Legacy. All right, and this is something, depending on where it's going to be saved, if it's going to be something on the web or if it's going to be on something on social media, you'll normally kind of need to know what the maximum file size is. And you can see that in here in the bottom left hand corner. So if yours is higher than the size of that, you can always change the percentage. You can make it smaller, you can scale it smaller if you needed. You can adjust these attributes to make it fit your size recommendations and still have it be something that looks nice. This settings I have happened to use just for my last project seem to work okay for this. So it's a GIF, it's a GIF, and I have it at 128 dithered. GIF is here, I have selected. Just kind of match yours with these settings that I have. The big thing is that it's a GIF, and that down here where it says looping options, I want to click forever. Then if I click save, if I go here to my desktop, then I will just call this adventure animation or whatever, and then click save. Alright, and it says it's done. So if I minimize this stuff and go here to adventure, your own Indiana Jones travel themed animation that you can make and post it onto your Twitter or have it onto your website and have a little bit of animation that can kind of help drive up a little bit of engagement with your viewers. I appreciate you watching this. Let me know what you think, and if you have ideas for other tutorials, and we'll catch you on our next video.